Welcome to the Sunday Reach by the Indian Dominicans. Dear brothers and sisters, the Pharisees, the Scribes, and the Sadducees are supposed to be the learned people. They are considered to be knowledgeable people. But very often we see them in the Gospels, they seem to be ignorant people because they come to Jesus with a lot of questions. Dear friends, these Pharisees, Scribes, and the Sadducees were not simple people. They were very shrewd. They cannot be taken for granted. Very often they come to Jesus with questions in order to trap him. Last Sunday we heard the question about paying taxes. In the same chapter of Matthew's Gospel, chapter 22, just before this passage what we have today, there is a question about resurrection. Thus, we see the Pharisees, the Scribes, and the Sadducees coming to Jesus, and they are always looking for an opportunity to trap Jesus. In today's Gospel, we see when the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they come together. That is, when they see that Jesus has very cleverly answered their questions regarding paying the taxes and resurrection, they come together to plot and to put another question before him. Today's question is about the greatest commandment. One of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him, we see in the Gospel. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Just observe, this is a very cunning question. He does not simply ask, what is the greatest commandment? But he asks, which is the greatest commandment in the law? In the law, meaning in the Torah. For an ordinary person, this question would not have been easy to give the answer. Because in the Torah, in the book of the laws, there are 613 commandments or laws. Among them, 365 are negative laws, the prohibitions or the don'ts. We have two examples in today's first reading. You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him. You shall not afflict any widow or orphan. So, these kinds of 365 prohibitions are found in the book of Torah. And there are 248 prescriptions or positive laws, or we can say the do's. For example, honor your father and mother. So, from among these 613 commandments, it was not so easy to select the greatest commandment or to select one commandment. Anyway, as we know, it was a mere trap for Jesus. However, Jesus is always generous to answer, but he answers in his own ways. Here he is asked only one question, which is the greatest commandment in the law. But Jesus is generous enough to give two answers. And he gives the answer from the Torah itself. Quoting Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 to 9, the Shema Israel, he says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, he says. And the second is like it, he says, you shall love your neighbour as yourself. And this he quotes from Leviticus 19:18. Jesus goes on to say, on these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. Why does Jesus say on these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets? Or why do we listen a lot about love? First and foremost, it was a clear message for the people who were asking questions to Jesus. All the rules and regulations should make us love. All of them should help us to love God. Jesus also added the second commandment because those Pharisees, Scribes, and the Sadducees, those lawyers, burdened the people with the following of laws and regulations. And they did not really respect their human dignity. Therefore, only doing the things as if for the love of God is not enough, but it has to be actualized in the love of neighbor. In fact, the whole message of Christ is based on love. That's why we find him speaking a lot about love. Love is a powerful thing. Song of Songs chapter 8 verse 6 says, "Love is strong as death." Why is love so powerful? Because the origin of it is itself so powerful. 1 John chapter 4 verse 7 says, God is love. That is the origin. Dear brothers and sisters, love is so powerful that can change us and the entire world. Martin Luther King Jr. says, we must discover the power of love, the redemptive power of love. And when we do that, we will make of this whole world a new world. But love is the only way, he says. That is the power of love. And that's why there is so much of emphasis on love in the message of Christ. Therefore, let us ask for the gift of love as we reflect on the greatest commandments of Jesus, to love God and to love our neighbor, and make this world a better place to live. If we love one another, God abides in us and His love is perfected in us. Amen.